Hi guys, Ray here from City Fan TV, and I'm joined today by the wonderful Bernard Deneen. How you doing, Bernard?
I'm absolutely fine, mate. Yeah, recovered, all ready to talk future. Now we've got one that's rubbishy season out of the way. I'm all ready to talk the next one.
Your tan is nearly as good as mine. I'll grant you that. You've been somewhere warm, I bet.
Oh, yeah, it's bloody warm. You don't have to go anywhere to be warm, mate. I was stuck on a tram coming back from somewhere warm the other day, and for 20 minutes where the points heated. So,
yeah,
that was hot. That was the hottest element of the weekend, despite winning the Champions League.
And Bernard's in Altrincham. I'm in just north of Manchester. We've got Mike about 1 billion miles away in South Korea. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, guys. I'm looking so much forward to hear about Bernard's experiences out there in Istanbul.
We will get to that in a pod shortly, I think. Today, we're here to talk about Declan Rice and Kalvin Phillips as well. Now, here's the situation as I understand it currently. Arsenal put a bid in of £80 million with £10 million of add-ons for Declan Rice, obviously to West Ham. West Ham have flatly refused that bid. Now, the feeling is that West Ham, is it David Goldar or Sullivan, I can't remember which one is still knocking about. But West Ham, the feeling is they'll want at least £100 million, whether that's 90 plus 10 million of add-ons or 100 million plus 10 million of add-ons. They're going to look for that. I think it feels like the magic number, £100 million. And Arsenal, obviously, they put their first bid in. At least they've not been cheeky. Like, was it Man United put a bid in? Was it 40 million for Mason Mount? Was that? Or whoever?
Yeah.
Mason Mount was a joke. But Arsenal have not done a Luis Suarez 40 million plus £1. They've put a proper bid in £80 million. Now, I think that's just an opening offer. And I think Arsenal's limit will be around 100 because look what happened to Mudryk. You know, when looked like they had him over the line in January, and then Chelsea came in, offered him more money, and he went there. But today, what's happened is that news has come out overnight. But today, I've read from David Ornstein. Now, David Ornstein used to work for the BBC. Now he's on the Athletic, and he knows everything about Arsenal. So it's as if they're whispering in his ear as they're doing any discussions. He seems to know. And I remember when he was at the BBC, he had the highest strike rate for accurate transfer news.
Very reliable guy. Very reliable guy.
The average was below 10% for other journalists, which is basically you just pissing in the dark. You know, you're just stabbing in the dark, hoping to get it right. BBC had a higher strike rate. I think that was 30% because they need a bit more corroboration for when they make a story. They can quote a rumour, but when they write a story, then they have to have it corroborated. Ornstein's strike rate was up to, I think, 60% or 50%. It was phenomenal. So he's come out and said City are interested as well. Now, normally when City's name is mentioned, it's usually to drive the price up. You know, you'd expect a selling club just let it slip out. You know, obviously not directly, but through a journalist or two, that's City are interested. And that makes the buying club, in this case, Arsenal, put up their bid if they can. Obviously, West Ham want a bidding war. They don't want one single interested party that can afford him to put a bid in and nobody else. They want a bidding war, which might get that up to, you know, well over £100 million. Now, I'm going to briefly say who I think might be interested in him, and I'll ask the guys a bit about Declan and how they think he might fit into City. In all honesty, if you're looking to pay 80 to 100 million pounds in England, there's only a few clubs that can afford him. Obviously, Arsenal, Spurs can't. Chelsea, they've already splurged 600 million, and I don't think he's going to go there. You know, Arsenal or City is a more complete project. You're more likely to win something very soon. Liverpool, but they wouldn't pay 100 million plus for Jude Bellingham, so I'm not sure they'd do the same for Declan Rice. And according to all the top Reds, Jude Bellingham was in the bag at Liverpool. That didn't happen. in England, and that's about it. Man United, I mean, come on, Man United aren't that much better off than in terms of footballing than West Ham. You know, West Ham had a very good season, a better season than Man United because West Ham won a European trophy. So around Europe, Bayern Munich can't afford him. He's not going to go to Real Madrid because they've just got Jude Bellingham and they splurged a lot of money. They're needing a striker. So PSG needs some creativity. I don't think they need defensive strength. It doesn't leave many I actually don't think it leaves many options. So I think that's. I was interested, but then you think, you know, when I saw City's interest, and then you think, but hang on, regardless of who's leaving, we've got Kalvin Phillips there, and you think, well, Kalvin Phillips is already there, but
is Declan Rice more defensive minded?
Oh, I was going to ask you, mate. I thought you knew a bit more than me.
Oh, definitely he is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're looking at other like attacking midfielders. Declan Rice is a bit more, as you say, the Rodri role. I would have thought.
Yeah. I think he's not as. I think he has some creativity because Rodri does as well. Rodri generally is a ball carrier, a passer, short passer, a disruptor. But Rodri's got, as we've seen, as Inter Milan saw, he's got a bit of a shot on him, and he's got a good pass on him as well. So he is creative as well. And I think Declan Rice, he fits a few. He ticks a few boxes for me. I think he'll once again bring that defensive solidity. Once again, I think he can carry the ball. I don't think he's scored too many goals this season. I'm going to have a quick look at that. He's got a few goals this season, I think. And so but I also think you can't overlook the fact that I think he has a little bit of creativity about him. I don't think he's just a pure stopper. I think he's got a little bit more about him than, you know, we've got to give him a little bit more credit. He scored, here we go. He's played 37 times in the league this season. He scored 4 goals. I'm not bothered about Europe, Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. I want to see what he's done in the league. He scored 4 goals in 37 appearances, which isn't actually, I bet you, too dissimilar to Rodri, Rodri played pretty much every, almost all the games in the league. Rodri played 36, scored 2 goals. That's it. So, you know, I think on goal scoring, you know, they'll be about the same. So I think he's going to be very similar to Rodri. But obviously, if Gundogan leaves and if Bernardo leaves, we need bodies. We need quality bodies. So the rumour that City might be coming up north, he's 24 years old. Kalvin Phillips going the other way. That makes it a very enticing deal, I think, for West Ham. If we offered, for argument's sake, £100 million and we give them Kalvin Phillips and we said he's worth 40 million, we're paying 60 million quid for Declan Rice. I think that's a cracking deal. He's better than Kalvin Phillips. So basically, you're paying 60 million for Declan Rice. So that's where they're not facts. That's where I think we are. It seems reasonable to say that. So I'll bump it to you, Bernard. Do you like the sound of the deal? Declan Rice coming to City for 100 million, Kalvin Phillips going the other way for about 40 million pounds.
Well, I'm in the same boat as we are when we brought in Kalvin Phillips. I mean, for me, both similar players. When I've seen them play for England, I've not been thinking, wow, at either of them. They've done jobs, and Kalvin Phillips playing for England has done a job. Declan Rice, I'm not too sure they play together for England or they sort of counteract each other and replace each other. But I just think we're swapping one. Not a big problem, but it is a problem with Phillips. We have to admit it. He's only started 4 games this season in all competitions. So there is a problem there with Kalvin Phillips, and he's not. He had the injury problem, of course, which limited it. Trust him. Yeah, but I mean, are we just giving up? Are we just going to end up one problem for another, where another guy's got a bed in again? I don't like it, particularly not for 100 odd million, not for the numbers you're quoting. I don't like it.
I will just suggest we generally don't worry about the money because that's City's problem. You know, we're coughing up our notes to them for matches, but it's their problem to worry about the money. So, you know, it's money's only for banter with other fans. That's it. Mike, I'll ask you the same question. What do you think about that deal? Declan Rice coming to City, Kalvin Phillips going to West Ham.
Well, I would take it. Now, listen, guys. Winning these three trophies apparently has landed us 280 million for the three. Yeah, right. For the three trophies. Now, we are myself and Ray and Bernard. We've been going now on another podcast for about 6 years, and I remember. I don't know if Ray remembers this, but in the second season, our co-founder, Walter, said that he would absolutely splash out on Declan Rice. And he is a much, much better player than Kalvin Phillips. And if you were to say, Ray, like letting one guy go one way and having him come to us the other way, I would bite your hand off. I believe in what Walter said. I think that he's a fantastic defensive midfielder. He's got skills going forward that Kalvin Phillips does not have, and I would absolutely take that, guys.
Okay. There's a couple of points I'm going to make here. One, I'll tell you a story. A few years ago, several years ago, before Liverpool started hitting the big time, in my opinion at the time, their most, maybe not their best, but the most influential player for them was Jordan Henderson. And I suggested that City should buy Jordan Henderson for about 30 million quid. And not because he's good enough to play for City, because he wasn't. But I suggested we buy him because that would have hurt Liverpool badly. Because that would have hurt Liverpool's development. Because I thought Jordan Henderson was key to them at that time. And I'm not saying Declan Rice is key to Arsenal's future, but I think it can be a big impact. Now, I think if City take Declan Rice away from Arsenal, steal him away from under their noses, that's going to hurt Arsenal because they've had their eyes set on Declan Rice. They see him as the next part of their jigsaw. Who knows what's going to happen to Thomas Partey? Okay, but I think they look at Declan Rice as another piece of their jigsaw, and they're getting closer and closer to completion. You know, they got our Gabriel Jesus, they got our Olex Zinchenko. They were extra pieces that helped fit into their puzzle, and I think they think Declan Rice is going to be the same. So I think on one hand, it will hurt Arsenal. On a second, I agree that I think Declan Rice is better than Kalvin Phillips. I think he's maybe I'm doing Kalvin a disservice, but Kalvin's had a bad season. He's had injuries and he's turned up after the World Cup fat. Right, maybe not fat, not fat like Bernard and me or Mike, but a few kilos overweight, which is unacceptable in Premier League football. So I think Declan Rice is a better option. I think he can play, and we've also got to remember that we've had a good season with Johnny Stones, excuse me, but he has been injured as well. And he has this unfortunate regularity of getting injured. Now, when we want to play two DMs or two players or a player alongside Rodri, that can be Declan Rice. I would be much more happy with Declan Rice there than Kalvin Phillips. But I'm going to throw another fly into the ointment. It's to mention Kovacic. Now, we are doing another video just on Kovacic, possibly. Although you can lump him in. If Kovacic is there, do you need Declan Rice? All right, we're not, I don't think, expert enough to say exactly what roles you play. But my concern is if we lose Bernardo Silva and Ilkay Gundogan, I want two people to replace them. And I just think Declan Rice and Kovacic could be those two people. Do you have any feelings about Kovacic? I mean, I'm going to throw him into the equation, Bernard. Do you think if we get Kovacic, we don't need Declan Rice?
Well, he certainly seems to be the more everyone's going on about it, as though it's more likely that Kovacic. I mean, some people say it's done, basically, apart from dotting the I's and crossing the T's, which is, and I can see where Pep what he would do with Kovacic, a player of his talent, which he's got. Can I throw another couple of spanners into it as well?
Yeah.
He might be a little bit younger as well, but we've got Peroni who can play in this position. We've got him hanging. We've got Mr. Doyle possibly coming back. I don't think he's quite up to it, but he's in that position again. And you've got Lavia, who has been, again, another guy who's had strong links coming back to City with a buyback clause to get him. So, I mean, you're talking this position, you're talking probably 3, 4, 5 players potentially if Gundo and Bernardo go, that we can bring a couple in, 2 or 3 in very cheaply to cover, but Jovetic, as you say, and then obviously Declan Rice will just be the cream on the cake.
I think Kovacic is 40 million. I think Lavia is 40 million. I can't remember. I think it's 40 million.
Yeah, I think it's 40 million, yeah.
40 million. Declan Rice is 100 million. Obviously, we don't know if Kalvin Phillips will leave. He might not want to, but if someone doesn't want to, maybe he won't go.
You always think someone like Rice might want to stay in London. That's the only thing, isn't it?
That's a possibility. But also, I mean, Rice is going to look at it and say, "Hang on, if he believes in himself, and I think he does, and I think he should do. City just won the treble, just done the three-peat, and he can hit the ground running under Pep. Everybody says Pep has helped them so much. Walker, everybody even players who were good somewhere else, who play with the top managers, come and say Pep has taken them to another level. So maybe Declan Rice wants a bit of that, 2 more years under Pep and develop his game. So by the time he's 26, he's one of the top players in the world. I mean, I think if you want to do the best you can as a footballer, then you come to Man City, you play under Pep, you learn under Pep. I'm not saying Arteta is a bad manager, but, if you're thinking who's going to win the trophies, it's going to be City more likely than Arsenal. And Declan Rice for 2 years could be, he could be banging in. Well, look at next season. We've got the Carabao Cup, we've got the league, we've got the FA Cup, we've got the Champions League, we've got the league, Super Cup, World Club Championship. Arsenal aren't going there anytime soon. That's 6 trophies we're playing for. I don't think Arsenal are ever going to get Champions League win. So Declan Rice has got this opportunity, joining the best team in the world. And if he believes himself, I think he should. Final points, Mike. What do you think is going to happen? What's in your bones, Mike?
Well, I've been studying everything that I can see online, and it seems like that City are really, really interested in Kovacic.
Yeah.
Now, let's be clear about this guy. I mean, he's won pretty much everything in the game. He's 29, so he's coming to maybe the end of his, maybe not the end of his days, but he's got a few more years left. Now, he is combative. He's aggressive. He's one of those players that we had to face against Inter Milan. But guys, listen, whoever we sign in that position, not being a creative midfielder, he's going to be a backup for Rodri. Let's face it. He's not going to be an attacking midfielder. He's going to be a defensive midfielder. Now, the only problem I see with the whole Declan Rice situation is that he's going to want to play games.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering where he would fit in our system with Rodri playing on a regular basis.
He'd play a damn sight more games than Kalvin Phillips. I think Pep would trust him more, and I think he wouldn't come back fat, and he'd be fighting fit, and he'd be pushing Rodri. He'd be pushing Rodri as well. And I think there'll be games where 2 players can play at once. So, but my final question for Mike and for Ben, to start with, Mike, what do you think will happen, or what do you want to happen?
I would like to see us sign Declan Rice. That's what I would like us to do.
Would you like Kalvin to do the way?
No, I think we could send him out on loan.
No, we don't do that. Kalvin Phillips is too old to go out on loan for a season. That's a waste of City. I'm going to move to Bernard, get Bernard's final thoughts. What do you want to happen, or what do you think might happen?
To be honest with you, on the basis of a straightforward thing for cover for Rodri, I just don't think it's worth getting Declan Rice in for that role as it is, because you've also got to think about Pep. What's he going to use John Stones as? He's not going to bring you back as centre half. So where's John Stones going to be playing as well?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a very difficult thing to sort out, and I agree. Having him Declan Rice as backup for Rodri, I don't think he's certainly not the same player for me, but there's a lot of similarities, and it's a lot of money to spend on a backup. But hey, apparently City got a lot of money, and we can buy whoever we want. If Kalvin Phillips don't work out, we can go and spend £100 million on Declan Rice. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about the rumoured interest in Declan Rice coming to Man City and Kalvin Phillips going the other way to West Ham. If you're new to the channel, please think about subscribing. We'd love you to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified as soon as new videos come out. We'll see you around, Blues.